So the short squeeze has occurred and the gap strategy has paid off big time. BBBY ended up exploding up over 80% in after hours yesterday. It ended up beating GME, AMC, several other stocks in terms of the overall day's gains. This stock had a massive squeeze and the gap strategy has worked once again. So within this video, I'm going to explain to you why I decided to lock in profits on my call options that I bought at 175 on October 7th, right? And I ended up selling those call options today at $7.70. I gave you guys the update alert in real time on the community tab of the channel. And within this video, I'm going to explain to you why I decided to lock in profits. So this is going to be kind of like a trade recap. If you want more of an explanation on, why I decided to buy BBBY stock on October 7th, why I decided to hold. If you want to get a better understanding of the strategy and the short squeeze and how I was able to kind of predict it in that sense and the gap strategies, make sure you go back and watch the video I posted yesterday. Also go back and find the video that I posted on October 7th. That's going to give you a better understanding of my entry, of the strategy that I used, how I was able to get in before everyone else. Right here, the volume when I got in was at 8 million. Yesterday, the volume was at 45 billion. Today, the volume was at 100 million. How was I able to get in before the crowd, before Wall Street bets, before everyone else hops on this massive trend and chases? How was I able to get in when everyone else was buying when I was locking in the profits, right? So this is going to give you, those previous videos will give you a better understanding on that. This video is going to focus on locking in profits. So why did I decide to lock in profits? Well, I was playing for the gap to fill. There was two gaps to fill. There was a gap to fill right here at $22.20, and there was a gap to fill right here at $27. I was really just playing for this gap to fill at 22. This gap right here, that was just a gift. And in terms of my strategy, when you see these higher gaps, so this is a higher gap at 27, and as you could see, when this stock was in a 27, it didn't take too long for it to go all the way back down to 14s, right? So that's a huge downside level. But the point is, when stocks fill their gaps, and if they react as a resistance and they react as a reversal level, it's time to lock in profits, right? Now, in terms of the after hours chart, guys, after hours told me everything it is that I need to know. The main reason in terms of selling was the daily chart. It started turning that key 27 gap close reversal level into resistance, but it was mainly after hours. This is what I had noticed. So here's what you need to understand. This stock exploded during after hours, right? This went from the 1650s all the way to $32, pretty much just straight up. Now, in terms of it having its pullback, where was the support level? Where did it consolidate? Where did it rest after it had this massive spike? It was right here, the low of this candle, $26. And then you can see right here, it bounces off again towards this 26-ish level, right? So the point I'm trying to make is your channel in terms of support is the 26s. Now, if 26 cracks and turns into resistance, that's bearish because it's breaking out of this channel zone, right? Your channel in terms of your resistance is sitting right here towards, the $30 range, and your support is sitting towards the $26 range. So the point I'm trying to make is if 26 cracks and turns it into a resistance level, so right here, say it cracks 26, it bounces back up, it forms lower highs, or it turns, the previous support at 26 into resistance level and it starts downtrending, where is the stock going to go? It's going to go to the next support level. Where's the next support level? Where's the next consolidation level of rest? It's right here. It's all the way down in the 1660s. That is not worth the risk of holding. No matter how high you think a stock can go, the point I'm trying to make is when you see a stock have a massive spike up, have a massive rip up very, very quickly, once the channel forms, and then this is where the channel formed, 26 support, and then your resistance is in, the $30 range, right? If 26 cracks and turns into a resistance level, huge downside potential. It's going to get crushed because there's no support. It's going to free fall. It's not going to get there right away, but it is going to happen. And then it's going to start to fill the gap that's waiting to fill below right here at 1675. So the point I'm simply trying to make is if 26 turns into a resistance, it's going to be a hard sell, an opportunity to short, an opportunity to get some put options, because once 26 turns into a resistance level, as identified in terms of identification, let's go back to the pre-market chart in terms of identifying that. So the pre-market chart in terms of identification was right around, it wasn't really identified in the pre-market chart. I mean, you could see though, it was already cracking 26s in the pre-market, which is not a good sign. It went to 24.50 and then it's topping out at lower highs. So yeah, it was kind of identified throughout the pre-market chart. And then also it started forming this right here. This is like your key confirmation to get out right here. When you see this top wick, this resistance level form at your previous support in the 2450s, like it's basically over. So those were the reasons in terms of selling. I could have traded it a little better. I could have gotten out, towards the upper nines if I were to do that very, very quickly. But I wanted to ride out and give it a little bit of time. But that's my reasons for locking in profits. So just to understand, when you see a stock chart that has, a massive spike up and there's no support, once that support level forms, which was right here, and once that cracks and turns into resistance level, it's time to get out and lock in profits. That's actually a great key breakdown level to then short and ride this back down to fill the gap below. So those are my reasons and explanations for selling. It's very, very simple. It's just seeing that this went straight up, it formed support, the support level cracked, it reacted as a resistance level, turning your previous support into resistance. And then it's just understanding that, okay, now that your key support level with huge upside potential is resistance, and this has no floor into the 16s, it's time to lock in profits because it's going to get crushed and start to fill the gap below because there's no support. It's holding up on thin air. It's as simple as that. Things would have been differently in terms of if this could have maintained $30 and turned it into support, we would have been looking up in terms of a ride to $35 a share. That's what we've been looking towards. But that's why I locked in profits. Also, more reasons to lock in profits in terms of the daily chart. It's not known for really being a multi-day runner when it has that massive move. So look at the volume. The volume was at 100 million today. The volume yesterday was at 45 million. Two massive, huge volume days. The stock went from 13s all the way to 32 in just like 4 to 5 days. In terms of its recent history, you could see when it has these massive green days, it doesn't last. It's not known for being a multi-day runner once it has the massive green day, and the massive green day was today. So this is an example. It had the massive green day, a massive gap up, previously closed at $30, got to a high at 47, right? So nearly doubling like it recently did, in terms of today. And then you could see the next day it gets crushed. It loses all of its gains and it goes down to 28. And then you could say, yeah, it popped back up, but you could see overall it even went lower. Went all the way down to 24. Here's another example. You had the massive green day, 100 million in volume, just like today. Previously closed from 27, got up to 44, but then you could see 2 days later, it's back in the 30s. So the chart history also helps you identify in terms of when to sell and when to lock in profits. There was also a lot of daily resistance right here in the $30 range with huge upside potential. So just understand, when you buy a stock and you're holding it, right? And it's holding up on thin air. So this $26 support level, this is thin air. Why is this thin air? Because before 26, your next support level, your next consolidation, your rest level is all the way in the 16s to fill this gap below. It's just a massive rip, a massive spike. So once that thin air support level cracks and turns into a resistance level, time to sell, time to lock in profits. Write that down, study that pattern. So basically what I'm telling you is when you see a stock shoot straight up like this, especially during extended hours, once it pulls back and forms that support level, so this is where it pulls back, forms a support level. Once that support level cracks and reacts as a resistance level, like we saw towards pre-market and market open, it's time to lock in profits because there's no support. It's going to start to fill the gap below. So it's as simple as that. So guys, that has been the lesson on a BBBY. And it's on to the next one. It's time to find the next massive short squeeze. In terms of, some short squeeze indicators chart-wise, look for stocks that are gapping down, that have a strong history of filling the gaps over time. So go back throughout the all-time, chart history and see, does this stock have a solid history of having gap downs, of having massive crashes, and then it recovers over time? Does it fill the gaps? And BBBY aligned with that position where it has a strong, solid foundation of filling the gaps. And then in terms of when is the gap going to fill, that's a little bit more advanced. News, catalyst, volume coming in, key support levels, gap close reversals. Also studying, okay, how recently does it bottom out once it gaps down? And you could see same thing kind of happened right here. It gapped down end of October and it bottomed out right here at around, early January. and it exploded up. So it typically takes a couple months for that gap to fill. You can see whenever this gap downs, it takes about a couple months. That'll give you a better expectation on time frames and kind of how to identify. The gap close reversal strategy will give you a better understanding in terms of when to buy the dip and when to buy, when to get in on the entry, right? The gap right here waiting to fill below was in the 15s, and then you had some of the 13s. Key support level, huge upside potential. Stock has nearly been down for over a month since it gapped down, so that was kind of helped me able to get into my time frame. Here's another great example, and this is a play that I'm actually in and still holding. I'm holding this one for the long term. This is basically the same type of setup as BBBY. It's a gap fill setup. You can see right here, look at the long-term chart. You have a solid foundation of support right here in the lower sevens, and it tends to rip back up. Every single time this stock gaps down, it explodes back up and it fills the gap above. And it has a nice price target for this particular stock as well. Analysts has been giving this a nice price target. But you could just see this is exactly what it is that I look for. Stocks that have a solid foundation of gapping down massively and then recovering over time, filling their gaps above. People ask me that question all the time. If a stock gaps down, like, you guys should be aware in terms of gaps, they tend to fill 60 to 70% of the time. And then it's like, well, okay, well, how do I get that to 90%? How do I get that to where I'm putting myself in the best situation where that gap just fills almost every single time, like 8 or 9 out of 10 times? It's the stock chart. You got to go back, look at the stock, look at the chart, and see, does it have a solid foundation? Does it have a strong history of filling the gaps, like Omar, like BBBY, right? And if so, odds are over time it's going to fill the gap. And then from there, it's just understanding, okay, well, what price should I be buying the dip at? And when should I buy this? How long can it realistically take for that gap to fill? How long does it take to bottom out? And those questions can be determined throughout the chart, throughout the volume, throughout the news. That's where it gets more advanced. Go back, watch my previous videos, get a better understanding on that. But yeah, guys, that was a recap on BBBY. So yeah, Omar is going to be the next play for the long term. I'm going to make a video about that soon. I would say long term, we are headed back up towards $13, right around there, towards 13 to fill this gap. It's going to take time, but this will be a great one as well. And Trader Society is going to be launching soon. I appreciate you, those who have been, patiently waiting for this program to launch. It is going to be launching soon, guys. I've been very busy working on this behind the scenes, along with, trading, swing trading, and just spending a lot of time looking for these short squeeze opportunities. But the program is going to be launching soon. It is going to be absolutely phenomenal. The video lesson library, the live trading sessions, live trading webinars, the private chat room, the Discord chat. We'll have voice channel, we'll have the real-time alerts, real-time analysis. You're going to learn how to be self-sufficient, guys. It is going to be the next level up. It's going to crush this whole YouTube thing I'm doing. This is nothing. This community is going to crush it. And that's going to be my main focus once we launch that. It's going to be a quality over quantity approach, self-sufficient traders who are looking to be self-sufficient. We're looking to, learn how to trade on their own, learn how to find these opportunities on their own. So that's going to be launching very soon. I really do appreciate you guys supporting the channel. I'm going to continue to trade the best setups at the best prices, and I will see you within the next video.